next question is a pretty much easy. I don't think I should be focusing on bringing out the logic behind this question. So it is a pretty easy factual question. The chairman of public sector banks are selected by. So see, in fact, most of this can be very plausible answers to this. There are very little chances of you bringing out your logic. So it could be management of concerned bank, it could be finance ministry, it could be RBI, it could be bank boards bureau. Any of this would make for logically possible answers, but the actual answer is bank boards bureau. So I'm not going to look into the logic or try to bring out some logic here. The only thing you can think about in this context is that the public sector banks, the leadership in public sector banks, the way in which the public sector banks leadership was elected or selected in the past had been a matter of big controversy, especially in the context of non-performing assets. So it was in this context that the government brought out something known as, they brought out a committee report, the PJ Nayak committee report on improving public sector bank governance. Then, like I said with the last slide, they brought out the idea of Project Shashak for improving their financial status. So it was, as a next logical step, they brought in the Bank Boards Bureau, which was recommended by PJ Nayak committee with Vinod Rai as the first chairman. So I think all of these powers were in fact given to the Bank Boards Bureau because that was a whole idea. We wanted to bring so much of transparency and increase accountability and autonomy aspects of appointment of leadership, the top tier leadership in the public sector banks, because like you said, there has been so much of politically motivated or politically pressurized lending activities. One best example that comes to my mind is even after the Vijay Mallya's many of his firms going into debt, maybe I think it was the Kingfisher Airlines or things like that, or his F1 company and things like that, the banks were still more than happy to lend out to him in his future IPL franchise and stuff and things like that, which shows the extent of political influence exists at all these lending decisions. And we have to bring in the fact that he was a Rajya Sabha MP at that point. So yeah, these were all the things that made lending operations in top tier banks really murkier, and so this was a positive decision. So that's all I want to stress here. So answer would be 4A. So moving on to the next question. So this is again on RBI. So this is again something I think we can arrive at the right answer through a proper bringing out a proper work of logic. So RBI's recent directives relating to storage of payment system data, popularly known as data diktat, command the payment system providers that. Okay, so there is so much of fussiness in the question. So RBI is there. So let us just think of the most crucial elements here. RBI is there. Then what do you call? Storage of payment system, payment system data. Okay, I think you got what I was mentioning. Storage of payment system data, that is the whole idea. That is another information you want to see. So RBI and storage of payment system data. So what is this payment system data? What are we talking about here? So we know about there's so much of e-wallets, there is so much of online transactions happening, and RBI is naturally worried, and they should be rightly worried about the privacy of all this data. Where should this data be stored? So normally with all these online service providers, not in the banking sector especially I am focusing on, but generally speaking, their data service centers or their data centers are all located mostly in US or some in Finland for various data regulatory easiness and things like that. So there is some amount of internationalism to that aspect, and every national governments are duly or rightfully worried about this fact. Our financial transaction data going to a foreign country. We don't want that to happen, right? Because if it falls to some vested interest, some unscrupulous vested interest, these things can be made to can be used to destabilize our economic system, right? Because modern day warfare doesn't mean fighting on the ground. They do it through all means of proxy wars, maybe through waging cultural wars, destabilizing the financial sectors, the banking sectors. These are all approaches that are various approaches in the modern warfare toolkit. So this is something RBI rightly focused their attention into. So I think that is a concern we are looking at. Let us see what would be the thing RBI would direct the payment system providers. First thing is that they shall ensure that the entire data relating to payment systems operated by them are stored in a system only in India. Okay, so all the payment system data relating to payment system should be stored in a cloud only in India. Okay, do you think that is logical, or that is the whole point we are trying to emphasize here? I think, yeah, that should be true, because we don't want this data to fall into foreign or vested interests. Then second thing is they shall ensure that the systems are owned and operated by public sector enterprises. Do you think that is necessary? Okay, it is one thing to compel companies to store their data systems, which is again a private activity. They are being allowed to do all this over the top OTT activities or provide OTT services in the country. But beyond that, do you want all these things to be run by public sector enterprises also? I don't think that is much of a necessity. So as long as they store their data or our data in India, it comes under Indian jurisdiction, right? It comes under Indian penal systems, it comes under Indian legal system. So as long as that is there, we are kind of safe. We know we can deal with that, okay? We know that this won't fall into some enemy's hands. So I don't think it is necessary that it has to be dealt with the public sector enterprises alone. That is not a necessary condition. Third thing, they shall submit the consolidated system audit report to the Comptroller and Auditor General of India by the end of the calendar year. Okay, they are saying that all this payment system data and an audit report of this will have to be submitted to our esteemed or renowned CAG. Okay, again, think the necessity of it. Do you think that is very necessary? Okay, see, our concern was simple. Okay, we are fastly transitioning to a cashless or less cash economy. We have so much of online transactions happening. We have so much of privacy concerns associated with. We have so much of safety and security concerns associated with. We have, on a big picture level, we have even a concern of the larger financial stability of the country. So these are our concerns, right? So like I said before, these are concerns we can deal, or we can deal really well if all this data is kept under our own jurisdictional limits. I think that is the only concern we should be having. Moreover, CAG, this is not the domain of CAG even. Why should CAG be auditing some private service providers just because of the fact that they have data, okay, data about financial transactions? If CAG is going to start auditing all the private entities with financial data on Indian consumers, I think CAG would have to have a whole different mandate and whole different level of workforce. With the present level of workforce, they are kind of really tight to bring out even the reports on Public Accounts Committee every year. So in that context, I don't think the third statement make any sense. So if you apply that sharp logic of yours, I think you can easily eliminate options 2 and 3. You don't have to know anything about the actual RBI regulation. So like I said in the beginning, some prominent websites, especially, they are very extremely famous for teaching out economy. That particular person has classified this question as tough, I guess. Or I think he has given out some clear material from which you can learn. Okay, he's saying that, okay, this was part of the monetary policy guidelines that was released recently. But I don't know how vast would be the material that you have to cover if you're going to read through all this material. So that is not the only approach you can have in clearing your prelims, right? So this is something that is very much amenable to logic. You should know something about the basic data privacy concerns we are facing. You should know something about the potential of misusing all this data, and you should know what an agency like RBI would be doing when they are faced with such a problem. I think it would be a reasonable assumption for all of us to do something of this sort. Okay. I think that should suffice here. Okay, so question number 5, the answer should be statement 1.